Today we are taking a look back at this camera, the Sony PXW X70. This camcorder is already 10 years old, but it's still very popular. So why is that? And is it still a good camera in 2025? These days you can pick them up for about 750 euros used, but that depends on the condition and also with the accessories. But when we take a look at the build quality, it is very nice and it feels very well made. It has a very solid feel and it also has a lot of nice buttons and controls, and I really like the manual mode of this camera. So while I am recording, I can switch between aperture priority, full manual mode, full auto mode, and I can do that really easily. I can just press one of these buttons on the side and then change the setting. The only thing that I don't like about the manual controls on this X70 is the white balance. It has this white balance button, but when I scroll, it doesn't change the temperature in steps, so that's kind of annoying. And this camcorder is the more professional version of the Sony FDR AX100. And one thing to keep in mind before buying this is that you have two versions of the PXW X70. You have one with the full HD and one with the 4K upgrade. Because with this camera you need to get a paid upgrade to get 4K image quality out of this camera. So that's kind of disappointing. And then the question is 4K important to you? But in my opinion, the 4K images out of the PXW X70 are really nice. And when buying this, you definitely want to get a model with the 4K option, because getting the 4K license later is way too expensive for this camera. So when we look at the video quality, you can see that you can get some nice results in Full HD, but that the image quality will get a lot better when shooting in 4K. There will be a lot more detail and it looks way better in my opinion. So I definitely recommend to get one with the 4K upgrade, because it definitely makes the image quality so much better. One thing that I don't like about the X70 is the highlight roll-off. You can see that it is very harsh and it doesn't look nice or natural at all. But what is nice is, unlike the consumer AX100, this one does have custom picture profiles, but it is the old picture profiles, so you don't have options like S-Log to Cine 4, but the old cinema tone colors. So that's also a little bit disappointing in my opinion, and I wasn't able to get a nice highlight roll-off on this camera. Also, the standard colors of this camera, I really don't like them, so definitely make sure to use a picture profile, because the standard colors are really flat and they look ugly in my opinion. And when shooting in 1080p it will shoot in 10-bit XAVC, but in 4K it will shoot in 8-bit, so keep that in mind. But even though it's only 8-bit in 4K, that doesn't mean that the image quality is bad. I think it looks really nice. And if you get the colors in camera right, then you probably don't even need the 10-bit. The built-in lens of this camera is a 12x optical zoom Zeiss lens. And I think it is a really nice lens. You can see that the lens is always very sharp. There are only two small complaints with this lens. The first one is that it doesn't have a constant aperture. So it will go from f2.8 to f4. But you can also just set it to f4 and then you will have a constant aperture. And the second thing is the zoom speed. It's not very fast. But unlike the AX100, luckily on this model you do have the option to get a faster zoom. But then you will hear it in the recording. So there's a menu option to set a faster zoom. And I think this lens is a very right balance between the amount of zoom size compared to the aperture and sensor size. Another nice thing about this camera is that it has a lot of manual buttons and controls, but you can also customize them. So you can go into the settings and control which button does which setting, and you have 6 customizable buttons, which is more than enough in my opinion. It also has a full-size HDMI on the back and an SDI port. And what is also nice is that it has built-in ND filters. One weird thing is that they removed the automatic ND filter system in this camera, which they had on the Sony AX100. So the ND automatic switch has just been changed to the auto and manual mode of this camera. So when you switch this to automatic mode, it will go into automatic video recording, but it won't automatically switch the ND filters. Whereas on the AX100 and CX900, it will change between ND clear and ND 1/4. The autofocus performance on this camera sadly isn't great, and that's something that has been improved with the newer models like the PXW Z90. You can clearly see that when using this, the autofocus can be really slow. Sometimes that can be very annoying. Another weird placement is the menu button. It is right here, and then the only way to control the menu settings is using this joystick. And another downside of this model, which I didn't really expect at all, is that it isn't very comfortable. And I also have the CX900, which is very similar, but for some reason on this model I think it is a bit heavier and my hand is less close to the body, so it will get very heavy like this if you use it for a longer period of time, and that's really disappointing. Because the other CX900 that I have feels completely fine. Maybe I just need to get used to it, but I'm not that big of a fan of this one. So with this camera it doesn't feel like I can hold it very comfortable for hours at a time. It also has a 1-inch sensor, which means that you will be able to get some nice background separation. You can get a little bit of background blur, but obviously not as much as some larger cameras. On the top it has the multi-interface shoe, which is very nice to have, so I can connect Sony microphones, but if I'd like to I can also connect the top handle, which I sadly don't have. And that gives access to dual XLR inputs, which is nice, but if you don't like XLR inputs, the nice thing about this camera is that it also has a microphone input. So in terms of audio options, it is very versatile. In terms of slow motion, it can only go up to 60 FPS, so if you want to get some really smooth, nice slow motion videos, this is not the camera for you. So should you still buy the PXW X70 in 2025? Well, it depends on if you can get a good deal and on what your needs are. So if you want a camera that can shoot great 4K video with a large amount of zoom, professional options like ND filters, picture profiles, the X70 codec, then this can still be a nice option. But keep in mind that it does have limitations because it's not the newest model. So the low light won't be that great. The autofocus isn't good and it doesn't have the newer picture profiles but only the older versions. But keep in mind that not every single PXW X70 has the 4K upgrade, so make sure to check that before you buy one, that it does have the 4K upgrade and it isn't limited to the 1080p. So what do you think of this camera? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.